Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Soren Review. And today we're going to be reviewing the Indy Road Course. Oh my, what a race! This race was extended from 82 to 95 laps. And by merely saying that fact, I think you can realize what a crazy race this was. 13 laps extended at a road course is just insane. This race, to say the least, can be put into two parts. There was the first about 70 or so laps, which I would say was pretty good. The first two stages provided good racing. Chase Briscoe was very fast. The Hendrick cars that Byron Bowman, or not Byron, Byron, Elliott, and Larson were all very fast. There was Martin Truex was fast at a point, Denny Hamlin, and then towards the end, with about 10 laps to go, Kyle Larson was leading. Had it stayed green, Kyle Larson would have just won again, and I wouldn't have minded that personally because what we had in those last 10 laps, which was called for a caution for debris, uh, it was a fair debris caution to say the least. It wasn't like some, caution that they're used to calling, but it wasn't, bad. But it was just, it was crazy. It was a very, very crazy, what we ended up, having. Let me talk about what happened, and then we'll talk about race results. The race restarted with about 10 laps to go. And throughout the whole race, the temporary curbing, because that curbing is temporary, right? It's not a natural part of the corner. It's not a natural part of the track, right? Because that part is used for transport and stuff. It had been, due to the Cups having no ride height, they kept hitting that curb and eating away. They kept repairing it. There was at one point a splitter caught up in it. I don't know who it was. I think it was, I'm not sure who they said. I know some drivers' splitters got torn up, but I think they said it was Cody Ware, not Cody Ware, one of the back markers. However, on the first lap of the restart, uh, Martin Truex Jr. spun out, and there was a ton of debris everywhere. Nobody really knew what it was from, and they kept racing. And this is one of where my biggest gripes comes from. NASCAR didn't throw the caution. Yes, NASCAR not throwing the caution when it's needed. When have we seen this before? And this is one of the most annoying things I think this for me is NASCAR race officials. When are we gonna get it through their thick skulls that we need to change something? It happened at Circuit of the Americas. It happened at New Hampshire. It happened at other tracks before where you have people wrecking for NASCAR to throw the caution. They had a whole minute and a half, right? A whole nother lap to call the caution. And they didn't. So that's my big first gripe with this whole thing. And then they come back around, and because the curbing is destroyed, William Byron hits it, spins out along with Kyle Busch. Logano goes barreling because the curbing's destroyed into the tire barrier, and then in the back, because nobody can see, in front of the other car in front of him, Christopher Bell and Ryan Preece get into each other, along with who else was it? Christopher Bell, Ryan Preece, Daniel Suarez. It was crazy. There were cars everywhere, and frankly, just It was a mess. They red flag it, which was fair. And then we have to wait for like a half an hour. They remove the curb, right? So which means the whole curbing. Now you have that like inner curb that was, making sure that the drivers don't cut it. And we've seen with like Chris Wright or Corey LaJoy where the cars get like sent. They like are up in the air. It's like a ramp basically. So now drivers have to avoid that. We restart and Michael McDowell hits the curb and takes out himself along with Austin Dillon, Tyler Reddick, two playoff drivers. And I should mention that the points are now 28 points for Reddick over Austin Dillon. So I'm not going to talk much about the points, but for Austin Dillon to basically make it, he's got to really outcompete Reddick at Michigan, which he could. That's one of Dillon's better tracks. And then hope Reddick wrecks out at Daytona. It's possible, but who knows if that'll happen. Cole Custer was also involved in the incident, and we had another caution. We had to run a million pace laps. That's why we had like 13 laps over the original race, because the NASCAR was not cleaning up the right oil. James Davison was leaving oil. It was nuts. It was crazy, crazy. So we restart, and this is one of the craziest restarts I've ever seen. They go 3 wide out of turn 1. Briscoe gets nudged by Denny Hamlin onto the grass between turns 2 and 3, comes back onto the track about second. NASCAR penalizes him because he cut the course despite getting pushed out. And so Briscoe, who's penalized, has, what does he do? Well, he's mad at Denny Hamlin. Hamlin's leading. Hamlin's not penalized, but Briscoe spins him out. Briscoe's penalized, so he's not scored. That gives the lead to Colleague Racing's AJ Allmendinger. Yes, part-time driver AJ Allmendinger won this race. I am just... Congratulations to AJ. Because this was one of the few positive things from this race. AJ won. And it's always amazing when AJ Allmendinger wins. We all love an AJ Allmendinger win. It's just, that's really the only positive I can find from this race. Another thing I want to talk about really quick is Bubba Wallace was penalized for cutting the chicane to avoid the hitting that ramp curb during the McDowell crash, and he was penalized, which makes sense. But if we're penalizing him, why aren't we penalizing Ross Chastain at Sonoma when he cut the course and kept his position to, or no, I think he may have gained, to be honest with you. I don't remember. I know that he didn't lose anything to avoid a wreck. So NASCAR being inconsistent. This was basically this race. It was poor NASCAR officiating. It was just one of the worst showings by NASCAR ever. A inconsistent call. NASCAR arguably, I think, not running the right configuration at this track. Whether that be the road course or the oval. NASCAR not calling the caution. Here's another thing. According to Bob Pockrass, Chase Briscoe was parked by NASCAR. So there's that. I think he finished 26th. I think that this could work. I think we have to wait for the next gen car. I'm just torn. I really am. This race had potential. It really did. And those last 10 laps were just crazy. The playoff battle is 28 points. This race does lock in Denny Hamlin, Michael McDowell, and Almirola to the playoffs. Everyone's going to have their opinion on it. It's going to be talked about a lot. This just reminds me of how I felt after Circuit of the Americas. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future. I think NASCAR will continue racing at Indy, of course, but whether that be the road course or the oval, I'm not really sure. My opinions. So we'll see. We will see. That's going to do it for this video. Remember, you can use code Soren72 to get free shipping on all orders $20 or more when you order from Circle B Diecast. That's code Soren72. Also, follow me on Twitter if you want at ReviewSoren. Thank you so much for watching, everyone, and goodbye.